Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our next family orientation live session about campus safety with our Towson University Police Department. We appreciate you being here, submitting questions, and we're happy to help you figure out how your student can stay nice and safe as they can on our campus. So to start, we'll do some introductions. My name is Catherine Knaus. I'm the Assistant Director of New Student and Family Programs, and I work with families during their onboarding. So as your student starts their first semester here at TU and beyond. So if you look at joining our family programs, that is all through our office and through me. You should be receiving these invitations from my personal email. So feel free to get in touch if you need anything about families. So I'm going to invite our students, Kristen and Sarah, to introduce themselves as well.
Yeah, I guess I'll go first. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah. I'm a senior family human service major, and I am also an orientation leader. I'll be answering your questions.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kristen Handley. My major is also Family and Human Services, and I am also a senior. I am a student director of family engagement.
Awesome. And then with us today, we have Sergeant Cotton of the TUPD. So I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell you just a little bit about our TUPD on campus.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sergeant. Do I have to push a button or anything?
Nope, you're good. You're live.
Okay. So hi, everyone. My name is Sergeant Shannon Cotton. I work with the Towson University Police Department. I am part of the outreach unit here on campus. Actually, it's called the Community Outreach Unit. Just a little bit about TUPD. We are actually a real police department. We have about 40 sworn police officers that work on campus. We are here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We don't take breaks. We're here even during the summer when many of our students are home. We also have several public safety officers that aren't sworn, but they also work on campus to help keep our campus safe.
So the first question I'm going to ask you is, what number should students use if they are on campus and have an emergency?
Okay, so the number that is our emergency number is 410-704-4444. I encourage all our students here on campus to make sure they have that number saved in their phone. If there's an emergency on campus and they are to dial 911, the call still comes to us, but what happens is it gets routed through Baltimore County's dispatch center first, and then Baltimore County relays it over to us. If there's an emergency on campus and they call the 410-704-4444 number, the number goes directly into our communication center. So it just allows us to get police response for an emergency out a lot faster than if they call 911. We also have our Safer Mobility app that they can download. You can download it on the, what's the Apple one? I can't think of Apple. I'm having a memory blank. The iStore. You can go to the iStore or the Android store, and you can download the app. It's actually a free app. And that app allows students to text message us. So if they have an emergency and they can't call us, like if they're in a situation and they just feel unsafe, they can actually use that app and text us. It also has a feature on it where if you call in our communications using the app, it'll turn the camera on the phone so that our communications can see everything that's going on around the student, so they can feed us information as we're responding. It also has a really nice escort feature on it. So if you're walking from one location on campus to another location and you utilize the app, if you take your finger off the button and don't enter a code, it actually will geolocate you and send a police officer out to your location to check on you. So again, like I said, for emergencies, you can call 410-704-4444, or you can also download our Safer Mobility app. Again, it is free.
Thank you. And can you talk a little bit more about the escort services? We had a couple questions submitted about walking alone at night.
Sure, we actually offer escorts 24 hours a day. What happens is we just have our students call into our communication center. They then dispatch either a police officer or a public safety officer out. Then we will walk with the person from one location to another. We also have a ride van program where we'll send our police assistants have safety officers, I'm sorry, our safety officers have vans, and they can come and pick your student up and transport them from one location on campus to another. We really ask our students to utilize that anytime they're not feeling safe on campus. Even though we have a really safe campus here, we always, we have those services. They're free. We have officers here all the time that are willing to come out and walk with our students or give them a ride from one location to other, because we just want them to feel safe whenever they're moving about on campus.
Excellent, thank you. So I'm going to toss it over to Sarah. What are some? How do you feel on campus? What are some things that you do during your life as a student to keep yourself safe?
So I love using the shuttles, especially if I'm coming from somewhere. For example, if I'm at the library studying in the 24-hour room until like 3 a.m. Usually the shuttles stop running around like 2:30. The latest is at like 3 a.m. So at that point, I would call like the safe ride, because the safe ride starts from 2:30 a.m. and it goes until 7 a.m. I'll call safe ride, because I definitely don't want to walk back from the library all the way to the other side of campus by myself. So I'll call safe ride, and it usually takes about like maybe 10 minutes for them to show up. You just tell them your desired location, and then they'll, or where you are currently, and then they'll take you to your desired location. So I love safe ride. Or if anything, I can call safe walk, and someone can come and assist me and like walk me back to my desired location. I've never used the blue boxes, but I would definitely recommend using them, because I know that they respond fairly quickly with the blue boxes. But other than that, I feel like Towson is a pretty safe campus. There are times where I've had like a late night class, maybe at like ends at 8, 9 o'clock, and I still feel safe walking back to my dorm by myself. It's just that like once it hits like 12 midnight to like later or earlier in the morning, that's when I'll just call safe rider, call safe walk, and someone will help me with walking back to my dorm safely. But I feel very safe on campus. Very safe.
Yeah, so Sarah mentioned the blue light poles. Shannon, could you talk a little bit about those and what they do?
Sure. So we have blue light phones all across our campus. Every year we get together with students, some groups, some students from student government, just, any student actually can join if they want. And we walk around campus and we look for areas to add blue light phones. We do them every year just to kind of update our campus to make sure that there's no location that's kind of out of the way where there's not a blue light phone, because we really want our students to feel safe when they're on campus. So when they're walking around campus, we like to make sure that if you're at one blue light phone, that you can see the other blue light phone somewhere close. So that way, if somebody were to follow you on campus, or if you see something suspicious, you can get to one of those phones really quickly if you don't have your cell phone on you. And the blue light phones, they're like a blue pole that actually sticks out of the ground. They have a blue light on them. Some of them even have cameras installed on them. And there's an emergency button. When you hit the emergency button, even if you don't say anything, they still, the call still goes into our communication center. Our communication center can tell which blue light phone's been activated, and they automatically send an officer out to check that location. So even if somebody pushes the button and they don't have a chance to say something, it comes up on our communication screen and they send somebody out immediately to check that location to make sure that everybody in the area is safe and there's nothing going on that, needs police intervention.
Excellent, thanks. So as we continue our conversation, please feel free to use the Q&A function to submit questions. If you hit Q&A on your screen, you'll be able to type in a question, and then Kristen will go ahead and read them out for us. In the meantime, we've had some direct messages to state the name of the app again. The app for safety on campus is called Safer Mobility.
Yep, it's called the Safer Mobility app. I might have a flyer somewhere I might be able to show.
So I typed the name into the chat as well, so that you have that written down. And then there's a question about crimes on campus and reporting. So Shannon, could you talk about Clery reporting for them?
Sure. So every higher institution of education that receives federal funding has to put out their crime statistic numbers, which is called the Clery Report, and it's actually mandated by federal statute. So at any time, if anybody wants to know what our crime statistics are, you can actually go to the Towson University website and put in public safety. There's a link on there that will access the Clery Report, and it'll actually tell you what our crime statistics are on campus. So like I said, every higher educational institute that receives federal funding has to show those numbers. So again, you can just go to the Towson University website, put in public safety, and there's a link on there so that you can pull up all those crime statistics.
So I'm seeing another question. How many officers are assigned to Tupd?
So currently we have about 40 sworn police officers. That number obviously fluctuates depending on whether we get retirements that year or if we hire new people. Right now we're just about at 40. We also have our public safety officers too. They're not actually sworn police officers. They actually wear different uniforms than us. They have blue shirts. I believe I want to say we have close to maybe 10 of them, maybe a little under 10. And they also work our campus. They help us with like lock openings. They do patrols around campus just to, be visible for our students. And they also do our escorts on campus. So like the safe walk and the safe ride, they will come out and do those too and help us out if we're experiencing a high volume of calls.
Thank you. And another question, does Tupd or another organization on campus conduct some type of self-defense class?
We here at the outreach unit, we do offer RAD, which is our rape aggression defense. We actually offer it usually in the fall semester and in the spring semester. We offer it for all females on campus. You can be a student, whether you're faculty, staff, you can come, it's free. Even if you want to come to the training, but you have somebody who is unaffiliated with the campus, you can still bring them. It's free, we offer it. It's usually 4 classes, 3 hours each class. And we go over, the first class is usually structured where we go over like safety, prevention, different strategies to keep yourself safe that maybe you haven't thought about. And then the end of that class to the 3 remaining classes, we go over self-defense moves and walk them through like different moves to keep themselves safe, how to fight back, things like that. Now, we only offer right now a female version because obviously the female and male version is different. But I did hear that Rec also offers a self-defense class. I think it might be open for everybody or it's open to males. So if that's something that they're interested in, if they're interested in the female version with RAD, they can contact me here at the outreach unit. And my number is 410-704-6530. And then if they're interested in the other version, they can contact Rec Services.
Awesome, wonderful. Thank you for that information. So I see a few more questions about the escorts available. So does Safer Mobility, do you escort students living off campus, and how late is that service available?
Okay, so the escorts are actually available all night. We do escorts any time of the day. We don't actually escort off of campus. Now, I will say if it's somewhere that's real close to campus, like a couple of our dormitories or off-campus living, I should say, not our dormitories, but off-campus living are very close. And I know I've escorted some students there before because they border our campus. Some of the ones that are a little further off, we don't actually go out there, but we will, if it's somewhere close to campus, a lot of times we will escort them that, especially like a couple of them are just like right across the street from us. So there we probably would, but when it gets further off campus, we don't go that far out.
Thank you. That answers that question. How will you handle, how will the mask situation be handled? So if students are not wearing their masks on campus or in classes or in academic buildings, is there going to be a protocol for that?
Okay, so I actually just went to in-service yesterday and they covered this. So our standpoint on that right now is we're not going out and enforcing masks. What we expect to probably happen is if we have somebody on campus that's not wearing a mask or let's say that we have students congregating in an area. Usually what happens is we receive a call. We really kind of want the staff to kind of try to handle it first. If it becomes something where it's an issue, then they'll call us out and we will ask that, you know, they obviously follow the campus policy for masking. If they decide they don't want to, then what we do is we just write up a report, an incident report, and we send it up to student conduct, and then they can look over it and they can go from there. But we're not going to go out and like issue, you know, citations or anything like that. We're just going to go out and ask that they, you know, practice safe distancing, you know, wear the mask just for safety. And like I said, if they decide that they don't want to, then it's a campus policy violation and it just gets written up as such.
Okay, awesome. So back to the safe ride and safe walk off campus. So would you take a student to, for example, Altus Apartments or Cardiff Hall?
Yeah, I mean, I would, and I'm pretty sure my coworkers would too. Cardiff Hall is literally right across the street, and Altus is actually right behind 10 West, which is one of our complexes too. And matter of fact, I do believe it's Altus, right? Altus. Altus, I believe Towson University is actually leasing a few of the floors in that building. So we actually will have students there. So anytime Towson University leases a building or an area in this area, that becomes part of our campus. So we will go out to that location. So because we're leasing apartments in that building, we will respond out to that location. It's also very close to campus too, so.
Awesome, thank you. So what is the protocol for violence that affects the entire campus? Is there a shelter-in-place system? How are students notified?
Okay, so we actually have a couple different protocols for that depending on what's occurring. We have the emergency text messages. So if our students haven't signed up for them yet, make sure to sign up for them. Again, you can go to the Towson University website under public safety and pull up emergency text messages. There's actually a link there to register for them. Parents can register for them too. Any kind of emergency that happens on campus or that is in the near vicinity of campus, we will actually send out text alerts to everyone's phone. It also goes out on email or computers. So if you're in a building and let's say your professor is teaching, it'll actually come up on their computer screen and tell them, or even if our students are logged into it, it'll come on their computer screen and warn them that there's an emergency. We also have a broadcast system here on campus that gets tested regularly, where they'll send out an emergency message across campus. So let's say there's an emergency, like a weather emergency on campus, and let's say something's coming close to campus. They will actually go on the broadcast system and broadcast it to shelter in place. So we have those two forms of communication that we do anytime we have an emergency here on campus.
Thank you. Another question I see in the chat is how safe are the parking garages, especially using them during evening hours?
Okay, so our parking garages, most of them I believe have cameras in them. So they have the DVTEL cameras. Our DVTEL cameras are actually monitored by our dispatchers. So all through the shift, they can pull up different cameras on campus and monitor them, which they often do. They also have blue light phones in the garages. So I believe there's one like on every single floor of the garage. So we have those in there. We also have our officers that are on patrol and our safety officers. So they're driving through those locations during their shifts all through the day. But again, if for some reason your student just doesn't feel safe, please at any time you can call us and we will be more than happy to escort them into a garage. They also can use that Safer Mobility app too. So like again, it has that escort feature on it. So if they're walking into a garage and let's say for whatever reason they don't want to call for an escort, they can still use that Safer Mobility app, and that has an escort feature on it where again, if they're walking and for some reason something happens and their finger comes off, it geolocates them and sends somebody out to check on them.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So what does Towson do for active shooter situations? So I know that you said that emergency text messages go out. Is there anything else?
So in a situation like that, we actually do a lot of training here with our department when it comes to active shooter training. We also work with Baltimore County on a plan in case we were to ever have an active shooter situation here on campus. Because we're so close to Baltimore County, they would be coming onto campus too to assist us. We also do an active shooter training for our students. We do it for new employees too, but our students can sign up for the active shooter training. It's like an hour course, and it just tells you what to do in case there's a situation here on campus. We also offer a video on the public safety website. So if you go to Towson University website and go to public safety, there's actually an active shooter video on there and what to do. So I would definitely suggest any new students coming onto campus to watch that. It gives a lot of really good information. And even though I think the course, the 1 hour course is really great, the video actually kind of wraps everything up into something that's, you know, quick that they can watch. I think it's like a 12-minute video. So I would definitely suggest watching that. We're trained to handle active shooter situations. So if there is something like that, we go through a lot of training during the year. We have yearly trainings where we update everything. So I hope that kind of answers everything that we offer. But yeah, obviously if there's an emergency like that, an active shooter situation, immediately text messages go out. And then of course the emergency text messages go out, the emergency emails go out. And that's something that we would broadcast over our broadcast system here on campus to alert everyone of the emergency.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Are students allowed to bring mace or tasers to campus just for added protection?
Okay, so we do allow our students to bring pepper spray onto campus. We don't allow for tasers on campus, but we do allow for pepper spray. So I often suggest that students buy like a bottle of pepper spray. You can get one that attached to your keychain or onto your book bag. But make sure if you bring that onto campus, make sure you know how to use it. Some of them are different. Some of the caps flip up, you know, the buttons can be different on them. So just make sure that you safely know how to use it before you bring it on campus. We don't want anybody to bring one on campus and accidentally spray somebody or spray themselves trying to learn how to use it. So just make sure you're familiar with the model of pepper spray that you bring onto campus. And I would recommend pepper spray. That's what our department uses. And I would say it's probably the most effective.
The thing I'll add to that, from a programming standpoint, once Towson is back in a place where we can have large scale programming, if your student comes to, say, CQ Arena with pepper spray, they may be asked to check it at the door when they come inside, and then they'll be given it back when they leave the event. So that seems to be a surprise for a lot of people. So if you are purchasing pepper spray for your student, just know that when they come indoors, they may be asked to check it and then they'll be given it back.
Perfect. Thank you for that added information, Catherine. So in terms of dorms during the night, is there any kind of security in residence halls after like a certain time?
Okay, so in our dorms, we actually have our officers go in and they do patrols through the dorms as well as our public safety officers. So we do patrols in our dorms at night. After a certain time, usually there's an RA that's always at the front desk. After a certain time, I'm not 100% sure. I want to say maybe midnight or 2. I know that we have a security company that comes in and they actually put guards in all the dorms to check when students are coming in, just to make sure that like nobody's coming in the building that doesn't belong there. Or if somebody comes in the building and like, let's say there's an emergency, and then we work with them. So they actually have radio communication with us. So if there's a problem or there's an issue, then they can radio to us and then we dispatch a police officer out. But yeah, we do have officers that patrol all our dormitories at night. And again, we do have private security companies that are also assigned to those dormitories after the resident assistants end their shift at the end of the night.
I can actually answer this question partially. So I'm a CCA on campus. So a CCA is the community center assistant. Those are the people that you're going to see at the front desk in each student's residence halls. So the desk usually in each residence hall is open from 6:30 a.m. to, I believe now 11:15 p.m. It used to be 11 p.m. But after 11:15, the CCA will end their shift and then a guard will usually come and mend the desk until, I guess, 11:15 now until 6:30 a.m. So there's always going to be someone at the desk guarding the desk no matter what. So after a certain time, like usually an RA will come and be at the desk with the CCA, but yeah, there's always someone at the desk, so you don't have to worry about that. But now because of like the no guest rule, or regulation. You don't really necessarily have to worry about people who aren't supposed to be in that dorm being in the dorm. Only the people that are registered to that dorm are allowed to be in there, or like if there's any kind of exception or something like that. But yeah, there's always someone at the desk.
Perfect. Thank you, Sarah. So a question about roommates. So if two roommates have a dispute and it escalates for whatever reason, do the campus police TUPD, do they get involved?
So a lot of times if there's a roommate dispute, what happens first is the RA usually addresses it, and then a lot of times they contact the RLC, which is the resident assistant and the resident life coordinator. If it becomes a situation where we feel that like they could be in danger, where like they're really arguing and one of them might try to assault the other, or one of them is threatened the other one, or done something where they feel that, you know, their safety isn't can't be reassured, then they'll call us out. And then usually what we do is we take a police report, and then all dormitories have like an emergency room, whereas if there's like if there's an emergency situation like this where we just have two roommates that can't get along, then a lot of times what they'll do is they'll relocate one roommate in a situation like that until other boarding or other accommodations can be found for that student. Obviously, we don't want to keep two students together if there is an issue that, you know, somebody's safety could be, you know, at risk. So yeah, in a situation like that, police come out. Again, we initiate a police report. That police report, you know, goes up to student conduct. And then we communicate and we work well with resident life. We work with housing and resident life to come up with other arrangements for that student so that we can separate those two students so that we can avoid any kind of situations between them.
And in that same light, Sarah, you might be able to answer this. What is an RA?
Yeah, so an RA is a resident assistant. The RAs are usually like the people that are kind of in charge of the residents on the, not necessarily in charge, but they are kind of like a guide for the residents on the floor. So I know the RAs were reduced a little bit, but usually there's an RA per floor in each residence hall. Some may have like 2 RAs per floor depending on like the building. But usually that's just the person that the residents in each dorm can go to if they need assistance for anything. If they just need help with like moving into their dorm. I know sometimes RAs help with moving into dorms, but the RAs are kind of just like a guide for students to go to if they need assistance with like getting to college or like just dorm life in general. But yeah, RA is a resident assistant. So each student on campus, living on campus, has an RA.
Awesome, perfect. Thank you. So, Shannon, what are the video cameras, like the monitoring, sidewalks, indoors, and hallways, and buildings? What does that look like?
So I'm trying to think of the number. We have a lot of cameras on campus. I don't have the exact number, but if you've been through our campus, a lot of times they look like little globes, and you will find them. They're in our educational buildings, they're on our walkways, they're in our parking garages, they're in our dining halls. Like, they are literally all over campus. And what's really great about them is not only does it give us the ability to monitor our campus 24 hours a day, but what also is really great is if we do have something happen here on campus, like let's say we have a student and they call in like a medical emergency, our dispatchers can access that camera right away and tell us what's going on. So if like we're responding and we have like, you know, EMT or Baltimore County EMTs responding with us, we can find that student, we can tell them, give them updates on what's happening with our student. Like, the cameras are really great. They also help us solve crimes on campus. So a lot of times, if we have thefts on campus, we can go back and access our cameras. Our parking garages, unfortunately, we get students that come onto campus, sometimes they're in a hurry and sometimes they bump into other cars. So those cameras are really nice because we can pull up our garages and like check to see, you know, what car might have bumped into another car so that we can get exchange insurance information. So the cameras really come in handy, but the most important aspect of our cameras is really safety of our campus. So we have them, like I said, all over campus. We even have license plate reader cameras on the entrances and exits of our campus. And what those do is when vehicles come in and out, it actually photographs the license plate and it runs it through a database. So if there's somebody here on campus that shouldn't be here, and let's say they're in a stolen vehicle, or let's say they have a warrant on them for something, it'll actually alert our dispatchers, who then will send a police officer out to check on that vehicle to find out why they're on campus. So not only do we have our DV-TEL camera system, which are all the cameras on campus, but we also have our license plate reader cameras, which also just add like an extra element of safety to our campus.
Perfect. So just to reiterate, TPD will be patrolling and monitoring the overflow dorms and apartments like Aspen that you mentioned earlier, correct?
Yeah, the ones that are located, are they Aspen or Altus? Which ones are right behind 10 West?
I think it's
That one is
Aspen.
Aspen.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, if it's the building right behind 10 West, which is right by Starbucks, we're going to be leasing, I think it's like 3 floors there, 3 or 4 floors. And because of that, we will be patrolling that area in conjunction with Baltimore County. Cardiff Hall is like really across the street from us. So a lot of times, if a call comes out there and we're right across the street, a lot of times we'll respond with Baltimore County. Same thing about like University Village up here. A lot of times we'll go there too because we're so close in proximity. Campus View is another one where it's so close to our campus that a lot of times we get dispatched there too. But if it's an escort, yeah, a lot of times because it's so close and a lot of them border our campus, we go there and make sure our main objective is just to make sure our students get home safe. So when they're bordering us like that, we have no problem, taking them or escorting them to that location.
Perfect. Thank you. So I'm not sure if you would be able to answer this or if this would be HRL, but are students allowed to receive food deliveries at their dorms? Like maybe delivery pizza or whatever?
I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't seen anything saying that they can't. So I don't see why they can't, but maybe Sarah could answer that better.
I'm not sure how it's going to look this year. Typically, students can receive like a food package or a care package from their families, or like they can get like pizza, DoorDash, Grubhub, and all that stuff, if that's what you mean. But I'm on it. It may be different this year. It may be the same still with like packaging and receiving packages, but only certain dorms on campus actually receive packages at their at their dorm, and then other packages go through the post office in the union. Even though the union's going to be closed, so I'm not sure how that's going to look either. But typically, students can receive packages. So if there is a change, just tell them to look out for that email. But typically, they can.
Thank you. And again, I'm not sure if this might be a question for HRL, but do we know if family members are allowed to help their students move into dorms?
I can answer this one quickly. So this year, because of our COVID restrictions, each student moving in is allowed to have 2 helpers. Family members, guests, whoever they need. You can have 2 people with you as a student to help get your materials up into your residence hall room. You'll be able to sign up for a 2-hour time slot. So you'll come to a central check-in, they'll verify your time slot, and then a student plus their 2 helpers will be asked to move all their belongings into their room in 2 hours. Now that doesn't mean at the end of 2 hours, we're coming to find you and kick you out. But we do hope that you'll stay in their room primarily, help them set it up, and then leave as soon as you're able, so that we minimize the people on campus.
Awesome. Thank you, Catherine, for that input. I see another question. Where is TUPD located, their central office building?
Okay, so we have a public safety building. The public safety building itself is actually located at Towson Town and on the corner of University Avenue. So it's kind of like the main entrance into campus. That building hosts or actually houses our police department, environmental health and safety, and of course our dispatch center is in the first floor of that building. So that building is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if a student has a concern or wants to report something, they can actually go into the lobby of that building and there's always someone in there. Behind that building is also an internet purchasing zone. So if your student is making any kind of internet purchase, they can actually go to the back lot and there's actually a parking space designated for that. There's the reason we designate in the back of the public safety building is because there's cameras back there, it's well lit, And again, there's always somebody in that building 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if your student is making an internet purchase, they can utilize that. We also, we normally have 2 other offices on campus that are just out in campus so that our students, so we're always accessible to our students. Unfortunately, right now, our office that's usually in the Union is temporarily offline while they're doing the construction and renovation. But there's also an office in West Village Commons on the 2nd floor, right by the dining hall. That's where I'm actually coming from at right now. So my office is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, depending on what my hours are, because sometimes I stay here a little later in the evenings. But I'm here during that time. So if your students have any questions or concerns, they can always come here and speak to me. I'm in my office. Or I also have a phone here, so you can call me at 410-704-6530. Again, it's 410-704-6530. So if any questions aren't covered here today, or if later on you think of another question, by all means, just give me a call. I can answer anything or give you any advice, or address any concerns that you might have.
Oh, sorry. I saw another question. How would a student register their technology? Do you have like an engraving system or something like that?
Sure, we actually have 2 ways. So we offer free engraving. So if they have a property that does not have a serial number, or if they want their information put on it. So a lot of times I'll get requests to engrave laptops. I've gotten cell phones. And usually what they want is like they'll want their name and their phone number on it. So if like their laptop, gets misplaced, or like a cell phone or anything like that, bicycles, things like that. But we also offer registration. So again, you can just go to the Towson University website, go to public safety. There's a link on there to register property. So we ask that our students register all their serialized property. So that includes bikes, phones, cameras, any kind of electronic, plus again, bicycles. And what that does is if an item were to get taken, we automatically have that serial number, and we actually put that serial number into a database that is nationwide. So let's say somebody takes a laptop and they go and they try to pawn the laptop. What they can do then is they can actually run the serial number, and it'll actually come back in the database as stolen property. And then they contact, let's say Baltimore County contacts us and says, hey, listen, we recovered the stolen property. It just helps us be able to recognize that it's stolen property, take that stolen property and return it to its owner. So again, like any kind of serialized property, we always really strongly suggest that they register it. If they don't get a chance to register, just at least make sure that you have your serial number. So if you're coming to campus and you're bringing your brand new laptop, just make sure you have your serial number on you. Because even if it's not registered, one of the first things I always ask when I get a call of a theft is, do you have your serial number? So just make sure that they have that. Also with the engraving, if they have property that doesn't have a serial number, a lot of times we'll use like their license number, because that's unique to every single person. And that's also a number where if they don't have a serial number, we can still enter that into a database so that they have, so it's still in there in case the property comes up stolen. We can still, run it and find out, if it's stolen and who it belongs to. I would also just strongly suggest too, just remind your students that when they're here on campus, even though we have a really safe campus, we do have an open campus. So we do get people time to time that do come on the campus and they look for opportunities. And the places that we see that the most are like our eating halls, the library. We have students that go in there, and a lot of times they'll leave laptops laying around, purses, cell phones. One of the biggest things that we have stolen here a lot of times is books. Those books are really expensive, and there's a couple places that will actually buy books. So just make sure that when your students are on campus, just tell them to always keep their possessions in their sight. Like if you have to go up and get something to eat, take your bag with you. If you're, in the library and you have to go get a book, make sure you're in eyesight of your belongings, or make sure you take them with you. Just don't leave anything unattended, because a lot of times that's when it's a crime of opportunity. So that's usually when we see things like that get stolen.
Thank you. So another question, I'm not sure, Catherine, if you might be able to answer this, about move-in. So do people need to sign up for their time slot to move in? How do they do that?
Yeah, so if you're living on campus, you will have your student receive information about signing up for a move-in slot. That has not gone out yet. If you have additional questions about move-in, I encourage you to join us next week on Tuesday. We will have our Housing and Residence Life family orientation live session. So that's where you can have all of your move-in questions answered. So that is not necessarily the purview of TUPD. That's more Housing and Residence Life. So again, Tuesday, the 28th is when we'll be talking with them. You can find the link to join that call on towson.edu/families. That'll go up probably tomorrow or Monday, and you'll receive an email like usual with that link as well. So that'll cover a couple of questions I see on the chat.
So I'm seeing another question about parking. Does anyone feel comfortable answering when someone will be notified about a parking pass?
That would be probably something that you'd have to go through TU parking for. TUPD actually doesn't have anything to do with parking. We actually don't even enforce parking in the garages. That's something that parking actually handles. And they handle all the permits and things like that too.
Perfect. And all of that information can also be found on Towson's parking website. So a follow-up question about campus monitoring. Is someone consistently monitoring campus, or is it kind of just periodically throughout the day?
Okay, well, it depends. Like, we monitor campus all through the day. Again, our police officers are here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all 365 days of the year. So we always have police officers and our public safety officers patrolling campus. And then, of course, the cameras that we have, they're on all the time. And our communication center actually has a huge like television screen full of like cameras on campus. And during the day, they just go through them while they're in between dispatching calls. They just go in between and watch all the different cameras on campus. Of course, if a call for service comes in at a certain location, they go directly to that camera and pull up what's going on around it. But all through the day, the cameras are always running. So in our dispatch center, they have a huge console that just has nothing but cameras all over it, and they just monitor them throughout the day. And then, of course, again, we have our officers that are out on campus patrolling it all day.
Thank you. And I see one more question about a worried parent. Maybe if someone hasn't heard from their student in a while, is there any way to get in touch with their student through TUPD? Is that any kind of system in place?
Yeah, this is actually a great question because we actually get a lot of these. Yes, you can contact TUPD. We will go out and check on your student. We have access to something called PeopleSoft, which gives us all our students' schedules. So if we need to track down a student to make sure that they're okay, we can actually go in there and pull up their class schedule. It gives us information on where they're residing on campus. So we can check their dorm, we can go out and check their classes. So yeah, we do that. We actually get quite a few requests to do that. And as a parent myself, I completely understand that, because when I can't get a hold of my daughter, I start kind of going into panic mode. So yeah, if there's any time where you can't get a hold of your student and you're worried about them, by all means, just give us a call. We will be more than happy to go out and check on your student, make sure they're safe.
Thank you, Sergeant Cotton. I'd like to wrap up our panelists with, if you can repeat the contact information you'd like these folks to have. So I think in this case, if you could repeat that TU emergency number, that would be great.
Okay, so again, our emergency number is 410-704-4444. We have a number that you can call for the escorts too, but I just tell everybody, I think it's easier if you just remember that number, because it's a simple number. And if you need an escort, you can call it. It goes in our communication center. If you need to make a report, you can call that number. If you have questions, like I said, you can call my number here in my office, which is the 410-704-6530 number. Or you can call the public safety building, which is 410-704-4814. And somebody there can answer your question. But for any calls of service, like if you need an escort, if you need to report something, or if you have an emergency, just use the 4444 number. That number goes straight in our communication center, and that'll get you a police response quickly.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to answer all of those questions for us. So I see Mr. Gary Frisch has joined the call. We are going to turn it over to him. He is a member of our Towson Family Network. So as family members, you have the opportunity to be involved at TU, and Gary's going to talk a little bit about that. You're still muted, Gary.
Thanks, Catherine.
There you
Welcome everybody to the Tiger Pride. It's a great school. One small correction, I'm an outgoing member of the board of the Towson Family Network. I was board secretary. My daughter graduated. We were on campus yesterday, as a matter of fact, Catherine taking pictures with her cap and gown. But anyway, I just want to talk a few minutes about the Towson Family Network that I was so intimately involved with. The mission of the Family Network is to strive to engage families of Towson students through active communication, peer-to-peer support, and other initiatives that enhance their students' experience and empower them to grow and succeed academically. So what does that amount to? For one thing, we offer 3 scholarships every fall. Exclusive to children of Towson Family Network members. 2 of the 3, actually all 3, are available to students regardless of major, judged by the Towson board. And that's a nice incentive because, you know, who can turn down another scholarship opportunity? Besides that, we offer a discount card for local businesses in the Towson area, as well as the TU store. We supply content for the campus ESP portal, which maybe somebody has talked about prior to this. Content and you know, information for vital information for parents and their students. And you know, it's a terrific organization. We contribute money each year to the what used to be the Food Insecurity Fund, which is now morphed into the Towson Emergency Assistance Fund, which has become even more vital during this pandemic. So basically, we're here to support the students in their academic experience, do what we can for the betterment of their time at Towson. And sometimes that takes other forms, which I'm not mentioning here. We're also very adaptable to situations. But anyway, the Towson Family Network is a $50 donation to join. It is $50 for the time that, for the 4 years that your student is at Towson, which if you do the math works out to a dollar and change per day, per month while they're a student. We are always looking for new board members. We can have up to 10 board members, and we have a couple positions to fill. If anybody's interested in becoming a member of the board, go to the Towson Family Network page online. Just type Towson University Family Network on any Towson page in the search box, and I'll bring you to that. And there'll be information on joining the board, including an application. So we're looking for your involvement as a board member or just as a member. It's a great organization, and like I said, Towson was just a fantastic school. You all made a great decision for you to come here. My daughter was very, very happy. She graduated with a exercise science degree. I was very, I have a real affinity with Towson, even though I was not an alumni myself. It was just a good school to be associated with. And I know things are crazy right now, and there's a lot of angst over housing and what the fall semester is going to look like. But you know, take solace in the fact that things are going to normalize, and your students are going to have a wonderful experience at Towson University. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, Gary. And thank you, Sergeant Cotton. Thank you, Sarah and Kristen. I really appreciate all of our panelists today helping answer questions. As you continue on this journey towards your students starting at Towson, your hub for everything families is towson.edu/families. That's where you'll find the link to join the family network, to start receiving our campus ESP TU for Families newsletter, see the rest of the orientation sessions that are available to you, and watch recordings of any sessions you might have missed, as well as informational videos from our campus partners. So Sergeant Cotton has made us a video that's posted on our website. So you always have access to this information as you need to return to it. So thanks for joining us today. We'll hopefully see you next week for Housing and Residence Life, and go Tigers.